All right, welcome back, or unless you're just jumping in here, I am continuing on through my Barbarian subclass tier list. I should already have part 1 up. This will be the beginning of part 2, looking at kind of the higher tiers. So Beard B, tier B, tier A, and of course tier S. So if you haven't checked out the other one, go check out that one, and then come here, right? Or vice versa. I don't know. You live your life, right? And that's all we can ever do. So last time we ended here on my C tier. So let's just go ahead and get right on into my B tier. All right, this is where stuff starts to get good. All right, this is subclasses that I think are actually fun. I think that you can actually enjoy these subclasses. I feel like you will actually feel like a badass. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say, it's not like you can't have fun with your earlier subclass, with kind of the lesser tier subclasses. You're just not going to feel very powerful when you do it. And you're going to feel that some things don't really bend well or meld well with others. Whereas these, it feels like every time you level up, every time you get something from your class, it seems to make you better, versus some of the other ones. So here's B tier. All right, remember, B tier means that, hey, you will be good. All right, I'm not saying you're going to be the best. There are going to be some subclasses that are better, but it's not awful. All right, you're gonna be pretty good. All right, you'll be content with B tier. So in my B tier, I have my Beast Barbarian. All right, it is decent, but hard to build around. All right, in other words, it's gonna be something that you are gonna have to really be thinking about every time you level up. Am I gonna subclass? Am I not gonna, or am I gonna multiclass? Am I not gonna multiclass? The feats that I take. And the fact that some of the things don't even really kind of meld well within the class itself, it leaves it up here for interpretation. But we'll get there. So in my B tier, we have our Beast Barbarian. At 3rd level, when you enter your rage, you can transform, revealing the bestial power within you. And until your rage ends, this beast comes in the form of some kind of weapon. I wish it came with more than that. I wish that there was something a little bit extra than just, hey, you get to choose a weapon now. And I'll talk about why here in just a second. But hey, this is what happens. First off, the weapon that you choose, it is always considered a strength weapon. That's good and bad, I guess. It means that no matter which of these weapons you choose, you will always be able to add your modifier, your barbarian modifier, while raging. But I don't know. I like the idea of having like a dex, barbarian at some point. But whatever. All right. If you choose the bite, you grow a muzzle. Congratulations, you become a werewolf. The muzzle deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit, and once on each of your turns, when you damage a creature with this bite, you regain a number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus, provided you have less than half your hit points when you hit. That is, without a doubt, one of the dumbest, hey, we're going to make this sound really cool in the first sentence. You get a super cool, you get to become a werewolf, all right, or mandible. So I guess you could be like an insecty thing, though I don't know anyone who would, all right, maybe unless you want to become like Predator, that might be kind of cool. But here you got, you get a D8, and when you take a bite out of somebody, you regain hit points. Sounds really, really cool. And then they slap you with all of this extra bullshit. So for instance, you can only regain hit points up to your proficiency bonus. I've said this in the earlier video. Most campaigns take place in tier 2 to tier 3. All right, so most campaigns are going to take place between levels 3-5 to 13-15. All right, that is where 90% of our campaigns usually end up happening. And to be honest, that's usually where most campaigns end up dying. So that means that, whenever you hit with this attack, you only regain proficiency bonus, which for most of that spread is 2 or 3. And remember, there's a beautiful key word right here that says once on each of your turns. So not only do you get this really shitty little baby bonus, you can only do it once on each of your turns. I don't know. That to me is just god-awful. Oh, and then, of course, another little caveat there at the end. You have to have less than half your hit points for this to work at all. I don't know. This just whole thing, like, they had me going with that first couple of lines when I first read through this class, and then once you read through the whole thing, you realize just, holy shit, I'm never going to use this. Alright, claws. Each of your hand transforms into a claw. You can use a weapon if it's empty, alright, so you can use it as a weapon. So you can use your claw as a weapon that deals 1d6 slashing damage. And once on each of your turns, when you take the attack action using your claw, you can make one additional claw attack as part of the same action. Now, this is actually decent, and the reason why it's decent, even though I know the 1d6 for a barbarian might scare us, the reason that 1d6 isn't so bad is because barbarians, if you have a party member who can cast something on you, like, say, Holy Weapon, like, say, what is it, Heroism? I think that gives you a bonus to every attack. Hunter's Mark, Hex, anytime that it says, hey, you get to attack more times than normal using your action, that is a good thing, all right? That is a bonus. The fact that it's not using up my bonus action, the fact that I could literally use this transformation and then immediately go and use this ability, that's a good thing. That is a bonus there. That is a benefit. All right. However, it does come with the problem that it is a D6. So if you are a barbarian who's used to, wielding around a D12, in the form of great axe, or 2d6s, in a great sword, you're missing out on that. Another thing you're going to be kind of missing out on is that, if we're looking at, like, the superior form of a barbarian, in other words, how much max damage can I possibly pump out at any given time, a polearm master having a big glaive or a big two-handed weapon of some kind that deals a D10, or I think there's a D12 polearm master weapon. Don't quote me, but I think there's at least one. But even if it is, let's say a D10 is the max you can go, the fact that a D10 uses a D10, which is great, and then it uses a D4, and that gets to use your bonus action, like, I don't know, like, just, it sounds really nice. I think if you had the right party makeup, I think if you had some things going for it, I think it could be okay. But the fact that it's a D6, like, like, I can just imagine, your average being, a 2 or 3, on that D6, and just, like, that could just really kind of bite into you. All right, lastly, tail. All right, you grow a lashing, spiny tail. This deals 1d8 piercing damage, and it has the reach property. If anything, this is probably the one you're going to want to go through the most, which sucks because it's a fucking tail. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, maybe I'm tail phobic. I just don't like the idea of, like, every time I go into combat, I have to grow a fucking tail. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's not so bad. Alright, so if a creature you can see within 10 feet of you hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to swipe your tail and roll a d8, applying a bonus to your AC equal to the number rolled. Holy shit, they gave us a barbarian that can actually have an AC. I love it. Alright, this is the one that I like. Yes, it is a d8. Yes, you are probably just growing a tail that's probably not actually going to be used too much as an offensive weapon, because again, it's just a d8, but by just transforming it and knowing that, hey, anytime someone attacks me, I can use my reaction, so once a turn, to raise my AC, by a d8, which is an average of 4, 4.5 to 5 is an average on a d8, that could be a big deal, and if you really wanted to, especially if you were someone who was, like, building kind of like a tanky barbarian, so, like, maybe even getting, maybe they wield a shield, so maybe they even have a shield in here that so their AC might actually already be starting at, say, a 16. Like, you could wind up with a barbarian who once a turn can have an AC of 20 plus. That's pretty good. I like that. All right, 6th level. Beginning at 6th level, the feral power within you increases, causing the natural weapons of your form of the beast to count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance, immunity, and non-magical attacks and damage. I have a DM who does this often. I have a DM who often will look through the monster manual, and he will choose monsters that are immune to magic damage, or that are resistant to non-magical damage. Yeah, immune to magical damage. That's a big fuck you. But who is resistant to non-magical weapons. So, although this may not sound like a lot, depending on who your DM is, this might actually be a pretty big deal. This might actually be something pretty cool. The problem is that the weapon becomes magical. So that means you are now forced to have to rely on the D8, the D6, or the D8 of the tail in order to overcome it. I guess it's not, like, it is what it is. Like, I mean, it gives you an option, especially if you're fighting something where your ordinary axe or something just isn't working out. But I don't know. It's not horrible, but this, in all honesty, this right here, this line is immediately why this cannot be an S or even A tier class. Is because this is what you get at 6th level. But we're not done yet, which is nice here, right? And we're getting into the good stuff here. Again, stuff, for me, what makes a good subclass is a subclass that not only benefits you in combat, but benefits you outside. And here we are. You can alter your form to help you adapt to your surroundings. When you finish a short or long rest, choose one of the following benefits which lasts until you finish the next one. So basically, you'll just always be under this transformation. You gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. Holy shit, isn't this what the, what's its nuts, the Storm Herald, isn't this what they get at like 10th level? You get yours at 6. You gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down or on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check. This is nuts, and the reason why I say that this is nuts is because if you can convince your DM that, hey, I am able to climb upside down and on ceilings, you don't need rope anymore. If unless you're, you are telling your DM, that, hey, I can now go wherever I want. That's a pretty big deal. It may not be flying speed, but it's, in terms of, going from point A to point B, this solves a lot of problems. All right. And lastly, when you jump, you can make a strength athletics check and extend your jump by a number of feet equal to the check's total. You can make this special check only once per turn. This one's probably the worst out of all of them, to be honest, just because, yes, granted, maybe you could end up, I don't think I don't know many DMs who really rely too heavily on the jump rules. I know the jump rule is like you are able to naturally jump like a certain feat equal to like your strength modifier or something. So like a barbarian with a 20 strength, I think, don't quote me, but I want to say they can long jump 20 feet. Although that seems just nuts to me. So maybe it's half. Maybe it's like half your strength or something like that. But, so this could, say, double it. Or you could also increase it by a single foot and not make a damn difference. I don't know. In my mind, like, if there's, like, say, a cavern where it's like, hey, I need to get from point A to, there's a hole in the floor. We're going through a dungeon and there's a, 15-foot hole in the floor. And you're like, oh, I could jump it. Or you could take the second option and just climb the walls and then just go around them. I don't know. Like, there's just, I find like this is probably the least one, but even then, very, very situational. Hence why we're in B tier. Alright, 10th level. When you hit a creature with your natural weapons while you're raging, the beast within you can curse them. The target must make a wisdom saving throw using your, oh look, here we go once again. They fixed it from our stupid Berserker Barbarian. They are using a stat that actually might be decent for us. DC equal to A plus your Constitution modifier plus your proficiency. They suffer one of the effects. The target must use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice that you can see. That is absolutely nuts if you are fighting, say, one super big bad with his minions. Imagine if, say, you're fighting Orcus, whose wand is able to do an average of like 40-something points of damage, and you can get him to swing and hit one of his peons. This is super good. Target takes 2d12 psychic damage. If you're only dealing with one single target, it wouldn't really help for him to attack anything else. Just a little extra damage. It's not bad. And lastly, you can use this feature. Those are your two options. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish long rest. Here's what's really, really cool. And here's what's nice about that 2d12 psychic damage. That may not sound like a lot, but it's this last sentence. You can use this up to your proficiency bonus. So by the time you're 10th level, right, I think your proficiency bonus is +4. If not, it's pretty close. You know, I think you're at 4. You know, it's like 10 to 14. Right in there is where our proficiency changes. This means that this isn't technically 2d12. In one combat session, this could be 8d12 psychic damage. That's a lot. All right, that's like 50 points on average of damage, just by hitting them multiple times. So, you know, here we had all of these, you know, your magical bestial weapons kind of, you know, taking a dump. Here it finally catches up. All right, here is how they are trying to bridge that gap. Personally, I don't think it's enough. You know, I wish like the D8s were D10s. I wish the D6 was a D8, but it is what it is. All right, lastly, Call of the Hunt. Call of the Hunt is a Yu-Gi-Oh card. At 14th level, the beast within you grows so powerful that you can spread its ferocity to others and gain resilience from them joining your hunt. When you enter your rage, you can choose a number of willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you equal to your Constitution modifier. So 2 or 3, maybe 4. You gain 5 temporary hit points for each creature that accepts this feature. Not bad. You could have, you know, on average, I find that most barbarians are probably going to be in the realm of, you know, maybe a +3 con by 14th level. So let's say 15 temp hit points. Until the rage ends, the chosen creatures can use the following benefit. Once on each of their turns, when the creature hits a target with an attack roll and deals damage to it, the creature can roll a d6 and gain a bonus to the damage equal to the number rolled. So they just get an extra d6 of damage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain them all in long rest. I don't like that this is equal to your proficiency bonus. When we I'll do a video about fighters at some point, but when you see things like the psionic fighter or the soul knife rogue, they get to use double their proficiency bonus. Like, their crap uses double their proficiency bonus, which granted, they get to use their stuff more often that uses those tokens, those dice. So maybe, you know, since this one is only going to be reliant in those situations, maybe that's how come they've kept it smaller. But I don't know. I wish that this was something that they didn't, you know, like, I understand, like, you know, yes, being able to gain 15 hit points, you know, 15 temp hit points, like, especially for a barbarian, where I don't know how your DMs do it, but my DM does it where, hey, if a barbarian has 10 hit points, they are resistant. You know, that 10 hit point is considered part of the resistance. So, you know, technically, you know, 15 temp hit points for a barbarian means 30, you know, technically. I can understand why that might be a lot, and why they would want to limit it, but just overall, like, not bad, but it just feels kind of lackluster. And maybe the reason why it feels lackluster is because, like I said, other classes just do things better. So overall, like I said, it's a fun class. It sounds fun. I know that Matt Mercer came out with the Blood Hunter class, and I know that Wizards of the Coast have basically said, yep, it's canon. We're letting it happen. Like, it's, you know, they haven't printed it anywhere. Like, it's not like it's in, you know, any of the official books, you know, official Wizards of the Coast books, but I feel like most of us, I don't know any DM who wouldn't allow a Blood Hunter on there. But yeah, if you're like, hey, I want to play a werewolfy Lycan class, but I just didn't like the kind of Dex-y build that the Blood Hunter kind of pushed me down, this could be a really cool substitute. Just be aware that there's going to be some times where it's like, you know, you're taking a big hit to the amount of damage you're able to deal for a while. And even, you know, at level 10, even once you have the ability to do these kind of cool little things, it relies on wisdom saving throws. It relies on you being able to do it, you know, which means, you know, you can only do it so many times to your proficiency bonus. It's just overall, it's a fun class. It's an interesting class. I think it melds much better than some of the others, hence why it's in my higher tier list. But as I said, until you get in these like 6 to 10 level range, you know, your bite almost useless. I don't know why you would ever choose your bite as a form of attack. Claws maybe. Tail is probably going to be your go-to. Just overall, it's good, but there's definitely things that are better, hence why it is in my B tier. We got here, A tier. It took us a while, but we have made it. All right, A tier. This shouldn't be anyone's shocker or shocking to anybody. If you have ever Googled, tier lists, Barbarian tier lists in Google, odds are you have probably seen this subclass is usually either in the bright blue or the bright green or the silver or the gold or whatever the top tiers are, and that is of course the Zealot. All right, we got here to the Zealot Barbarian. We are in our A tier class. So remember, A tier subclasses are the subclasses where you can't go wrong. All right, these are the subclasses that if we stack them side by side, they're all going to be good. I don't think any of them are going to give you a negative time. I think you're going to feel powerful no matter which one you choose. So you get to decide, just a matter of where it fits for you in your choice. So Zealot, it is a solid choice. What it lacks in defense, and by that I mean just what it lacks, in terms of getting any defensive abilities, it gains by getting some very powerful attacking choices, which is no shocker to anyone. And it is why it's almost the exact opposite of, say, the other guy that's on my A tier, which we'll get to next. So, at third level, when you get to take this subclass here, you get your Divine Fury. Starting when you choose this path at third level, you can channel Divine Fury into your weapon strikes. While you rage, the first creature you hit on each of your turns with a weapon attack, which means that this would go really, really well with, say, Polearm Master. Just definitely, make you are increasing the chance of you hitting every turn, right? That's the point. So this works really, really well with a Polearm build. Every time, or the first time you hit a creature with a weapon attack and it takes damage, it takes extra damage equal to 1d6 plus half your Barbarian level. This extra damage gets to be necrotic or radiant on your choice when you get this feature. Really cool, really great. The weapon, the damage does scale decently well. When your weapon does 1d6 plus 3 versus 1d6 plus 4, it feels it. When it's 1d6, plus 5 versus 1d6 plus, 6 or plus 7 or plus 8, etc., it feels it. You are able to see that the damage is increasing. You feel it. It's not like some of the other ones where it's, hey, this is, 2 at level 3, it's 3 at level 5, it's 4 at level 10, and it's, 5 at level 15. It's like, this is something you feel every time you level up, which is really, really nice. And the fact that it says that, it's not something you have to call, it's something that just, hey, when you hit a creature for the first time, here's this extra damage. It's really, really nice. All right. Also at third level, your soul is marked for endless battle. If a spell such as Raise Dead, Revivify, or any of the other ones, depending on how nice your DM is, has the effect of restoring you to life, but not undeath. So, although I don't know why Raise Dead would not be considered undeath. Oh well, the caster doesn't need material components to cast the spell on you. This is insane. Alright, the reason why this is insane is because that means that when your cleric or your druid unlocks Revivify, they do not need the 300 gold piece diamond to pick you up. All they need is the third level spell slot. That's nuts. Unless you're playing with a DM who just doesn't care and has never asked you to keep track of material components, then fine. But in any game I've ever been in, that's a way our DM controls how often, or how severe our combats are. Is he limits how many diamonds worth 300 gold we find. The fact that this just says, yeah, no, you just literally need the spell slot. If you got if you got a third level spell slot, you're fine. That's really cool. And it could definitely come in handy, as you are probably the one in the front of the fray anyway. All right, at 6th level, The divine power that fuels your rage can protect you. If you fail a saving throw while raging, you can re-roll it, but you must use the new roll. You can only use this ability once per rage. Super, super awesome. Yes, it is a one-time thing. You're probably only going to get to use it 2 to 3 times a day, because odds are that's as often as you're raging. But it's still good, and it could still very well be the difference between, you getting plane shifted, and out of the fight permanently and drowning in the, plane of water, versus not, and being able to stay in the fight. So it may not sound like a lot, but it could be useful. However, the fact that, here you have this super awesome group of things at 3rd level, and then at 6th level, all you do is just, hey, you get to re-roll once, maybe twice a day. I don't know. This is the weak point. If we were to look at all of these abilities, this is the one that's weak. Especially, and this is, again, I bring it up in my other video, and I'm bringing it up now. I don't like when they give a class something that a feat does, and a feat does better. Why the hell, if you are a barbarian who is worried about failing your saving throws, why the hell haven't you taken the lucky feat? Unless it's banned, all right? Maybe you're playing at a table where your DM has banned lucky feat. But if they haven't, at 4th level, just take lucky feat. And now you get to fail 3 times. I don't know. It's just, it's something where it's like, it's an okay ability, but it's just, they could have done it better. I don't know. Alright, 10th level, Zealous Presence. At 10th level, you learn to channel divine power to inspire zealotry in others. As a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 6 feet you can hear. Gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. Once you use this, you cannot use it again for a long rest. This could be the difference between you TPKing and you coming out as the winner. The fact that you, because I know it doesn't say up to 10 other, up to 10, I guess it does. I guess it does say up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you gain this. So depending on, this might be something you ask your DM. Your DM, you may want to ask your DM, hey, do I gain the benefit of this? Because I am hearing my own charge. But the way it's worded, they may say like, hey, sorry, like it says 10 other creatures. But still, not a bad ability. And the fact that it's advantage on all attack rolls. It doesn't just say the first one, doesn't just say one. It says all attack rolls and saving throws for an entire turn. This could be nuts. This could be the difference between players going down and a party staying together. Absolutely. But it's only once a day, which I think this one might actually be pretty balanced. It might need to be. Being able to do this, like say, the amount of times of your proficiency bonus, that means, 2 or 3 times a fight. If you only fight, say, once or twice a day, that'd be pretty nuts. So I'd say that's pretty nuts. Finally, Rage Beyond Death. At 14th level, the divine power that fuels your rage allows you to shrug off fatal blows while you are raging, having 0 hit points. This is the one that if there's any that's worded weird and I don't know how I would play with it, it's this one. While you're raging, having 0 hit points does not knock you unconscious. You still make death saves, and you suffer the normal effects of taking damage while at 0 hit points. However, if you would die due to failing death saves, you would die. You don't die until your rage ends, and you die then only if you still have 0 hit points. This is powerful. This is broken, and there's not too many barbarian features that I say are broken. This is broken. And the reason why I say that this is broken is because if you read the full thing, some people, I feel like they stop halfway and they go, oh, but if you have 0 hit points and the barbarian is still going and he takes damage, he's losing death saves. He's losing death saves. If he fails that 3rd death save, he's done, he's out, he's dead. No, he's not. If you would die due to failing death save throws, you don't die until your rage ends. Your rage lasts a minute, which is, that's plenty of rounds. That's 10 rounds for someone in your party to cast some kind of healing magic on you and just getting you out of those death saves. And again, and thanks to Warrior of the Gods, even if you do say, you die in a turn, you take 3 attacks, which means that you would fail 3 death saves, which means that you are now dead, technically, so healing magic does not work on you anymore. Healing word, cure wounds, because you are dead, your body is just moving. Thanks to Warrior of the Gods, okay, cure wounds may not help you, but Revivify still does. Raise Dead still does. You know what I mean? Like there are still, there are spells out there. Revivify being the big one, because I think Raise Dead, I think that takes a minute, but Revivify, I'm pretty sure, is just an action. Thanks to this, like, all they need is a 3rd level spell slot, and boom, you are back to 1 hit point, which means that all of this gets reset all over again. I don't know. Like, to me, like, this basically means that until everyone else in the party is dead, the Barbarian will not die. Because all it takes is even, like, people with potions and shit. Like, it's just, this is broke. It's powerful. Like, it's cool. I like the vibe of it. But if there's any Barbarian ability that I'm like, this is just broke, that's this one. But hey, great features, great abilities. Level 6 is kind of iffy, but there's a reason why this is an A tier. Alright, my second A tier, again, shouldn't be shocking to anybody, Ancestral Guardian. Ancestral Guardian Barbarian is probably my favorite Barbarian class, to be honest. It's one that I wish it did just a little bit more, but that's because I'm a power gamer. I'll be honest, I love power gaming. I love having the best, the best possible class I possibly can. What I would want it to do, it doesn't do entirely, but what it does want to do, it does very, very well, and we'll get to it. So, Ancestral Guardian. Alright, Ancestral Protectors. At 3rd level, when you choose this, you get to summon the spirits of your ancestors when you go off and you start raging. While raging, the first creature you hit with an attack on your turn becomes the target of your warriors, which hinders its attacks. Until the start of your next turn, that target has disadvantage on any attack roll that isn't against you, which is nice. The fact that it's not just the first, it's not just one, it's all of them. All attacks are a disadvantage against anybody but you. And if that target is, if that person who you've hit, right, if your enemy is still desperate to hit the person next to you, then that creature takes half damage. They gain resistance to the damage dealt by that attack. This effect will end if you either hit somebody else or if your rage ends. Super, super cool, super, super powerful. The only complaint I have on this, I've seen videos, deep dives, D4 deep dives. Love his channel. He does really, really cool things. Would love to be on a video with him someday, just because I think we'd have a lot to talk about. But he mentions things like taunts. Something that all tanks need is a taunt. They need something that draws attention to them and away from their friends, because that's the point of a tank. The point of a tank is to have the attention on them. That is what this class is. This is the definition of a taunt. As a DM, if I had 4 players in front of me and one of them was an Ancestral Guardian Barbarian, I would have I can't imagine, I'd have to have a very good reason to attack somebody else and not this person. Because the DM would know that not only am I going to have disadvantage trying to hit this other person, but even if I do end up hitting, it's going to cause, it's going to be resistant anyway. So big deal. Alright, 6th level. Beginning at 6th level, the guardian spirits that aid you can provide supernatural protection to those you defend. Here we go. Once again, I love classes, I love subclasses when they know what they're doing. Right, at 3rd level, they tell you, hey, this is what you get to do by choosing this path, this subclass, and now all the rest of the abilities are going to help out that. I love it. If you are raging and another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to reduce that damage by 2d6. So not only Are you helping out your buddy by giving them resistance to damage, coming in from somebody? Because, in theory, you're attacking the creature, so the enemy should only be attacking you. So if they attack somebody else, it's resistant. But now you can also reduce the, I'm assuming, resisted damage. I'm assuming you get to take this number out of what was resisted by 2d6, which isn't a terrible amount. That's an average of like 6 to 8 points of damage, which again, if you've already granted them resistance, this may be another third, fourth, half of the damage that they should have been taking. So, this can be a huge amount, and it does scale. It scales a little slow by my standards. 3d6 at 10th level, 4d6 at 14. So I guess it's not horrible. It definitely, it does better than the stupid, what's its nuts, the Storm Herald. So I guess that's decent, but still, not horrible. At least we got some scaling. This is not just like, oh yeah, 2d6 forever. But this is something, I don't know why, but I feel like Barbarian 6th level is always. Alright, at 10th level, you gain the ability to consult with your ancestral spirits. When you do so, you cast the Augury or Clairvoyant spell without using a spell slot or material components. Rather than creating a spherical sensor, this use of Clairvoyance Invisible summons one of your ancestral spirits to the chosen location. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for these spells should it need, and you get to use this at a short or long rest. This is what I love. I love when they give a barbarian the ability to be useful outside of combat, because I think that is the greatest weakness to the barbarians, is that they are so focused on combat that as soon as you are in a session where combat's just not a thing, they take a backseat. I love that this says, hey, you can cast the Augury or Clairvoyant spell without spell slots or material components. You can do so, every short rest, which is great. And the fact that it is, Clairvoyance is a very good spell. Augury, decent. Clairvoyance, very good spell. I love what they do here. I love that they give us something to work with that gives us some means of helping out the party outside of combat. Great ability. Unless you're someone who's going for an all-around combat-oriented, then, this is maybe why it's not S tier, but hey, it's good. Alright, at 14th level, your ancestor spirits grow powerful enough to retaliate. When you use your spirit shield to reduce the damage of an attack, the attacker takes an amount of force damage that your spirit shield prevents. Here you go. This is it. This is the thing that is going to make your DM absolutely hate you. Well, they're going to already hate you, and I'm going to tell you how in a second, but now they're going to absolutely loathe you. Because now, anytime that you use your reaction, which granted it does use your reaction as a barbarian, that means that we're not getting that other attack in there. So just another way that we're losing attack value going Ancestral Guardian. But by using Spirit Shield, they get to take damage equal to this, which means this could, in theory, at 14th level, every turn, not only are we reducing damage from one of our onto one of our allies by 4d6, we are causing it to someone else. That means if at 14th level, it's not rare for combat encounters to last 4 or 5 rounds. If you use this ability every time, that's like 16 to 16 to 20 d6 worth of force damage. That's a fireball. That's 2 fireballs. That's that's like half of a meteor swarm. Hitting hitting a target. Really, really good. Really, really powerful. And the fact that, again, all it does is, there's no cap on it. There's no max amount on it. You can just do it as long as you use Spirit Shield. You can use this. Super, super cool. It's probably why it scales better than some of the others, but no. Overall, fantastic class. Something else to think about, and I know that it's not in the class, but if you really want this class to just absolutely break your DM's balls, and if you are just desperate to be as annoying as possible, there is one feat in particular I strongly recommend you take, and that is Sentinel. Go read what Sentinel does. If you don't want to, it allows it. There's one key thing, all right? Sentinel, it makes it so that, if you get procced an opportunity attack, so if you get to attack someone because they leave your space, if you hit, not only does their speed drop to 0, which is super, super cool, what's awesome is that something else about what is unique about Sentinel is that if you are standing, I think it's within like 10 feet or next to, or it might even be just, hey, if you see, I forget how it's worded, I think it's within a certain distance. If one of your allies gets attacked, you get to attack them back as a reaction. This is one of the few times where a barbarian's reaction is probably going to actually get overused. You're probably going to actually have to be thinking of how do I want to use my reaction, which is rare for a barbarian. But just think about that, right? Not only are you granting your allies resistance, not only are you making it so that they will constantly be under a state of the enemies being under disadvantage by trying to attack them. But if you take the Sentinel feat, now you get to also hit them in the face if they ever try to attack anybody but you. I love it. As both a DM and a player, I love it. Now, are you asking to be the sole focus of every DM you've ever met? 100%. But I love it. I think this is fantastic. It is a great class. A tier, 100%. Couldn't be anybody else. All right, we got here. This should be no surprise to anybody. This should be, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people, their S tier list might actually be a couple, I would see Ancestral Guardian and Zealot to be S tier. My only issue is that if, to me, S tier is meant to be the best of the best. There should only be one S tier. There's very few classes I can think of, subclasses, where if they go toe-to-toe, then they are equal in the end. To me, there's always at least, there should be something. There should be some class that's like, okay, these two are neck and neck through the whole thing, but at the end of the day, this class is better. And for me, if you're looking at the Barbarian, there's only one. There's only one class that takes the cake every time, and that is, of course, the Totem. All right, specifically the Bear Totem. All right, you even got to ask that question. All right, so Totem Spirit Barbarian at 3rd level. When you adopt this path, you choose a Totem Spirit and gain a feature. All right, and then you can choose how that totem takes its form. All right, now this is the extended list. I think the original, if you're going just book, I think the only one you get to choose is Bear, Eagle, and Wolf. However, these other ones I've seen in so many lists that I think at this point they're pretty much accepted that you can choose them as well. But don't quote me on that. Maybe they are part of the UA, and maybe there might be a DM who does not allow the tiger or the elk. But I'm pretty sure I've seen all of them and enough that I think any of these can show up. So at 3rd level, there's only one you're going to choose. All right, I don't care how awesome you think it's going to be or how niche how hipster you think you might look by choosing the eagle or the elk or the tiger. Don't fool yourself. All right, don't kid yourself. All right, at the end of the day, you know which one you're going to fucking choose. All right, just choose the bear. Be resistant to literally every form of damage besides psychic. Make it so that you are an absolute tank in every way, shape, or form, and then move on. All right, at 6th level, you get a magical benefit according to the totem that you chose. By my understanding, I've seen some DMs that say, hey, if you choose the bear totem, you are the bear. From now on, you always have to choose the bear effect. However, I've also seen some that are like, hey, I envision it more like Native American, tattoo style, where it's I have a bear here and it gives me this ability, and I have this eagle tattoo over here and it gives me that, and I've seen it work both ways. Ask your DM, because once you get outside of the bear totem, there are other totems that get better with these other effects. But I find it very hard to convince myself to pick anything else but bear. But ask your DM, see what they think, and see which one you might end up getting. If you do, all right, if we're going to say that, hey, your DM's a dick and they're not letting you pick any other animal totem besides the bear, Then your carrying capacity is doubled, and you advantage on strength checks to push, pull, lift, or break objects. If your DM is forcing you to have to choose every bear, the bear ability for each one of these because you went with the bear totem at the start, I would maybe ask him like, hey, this is really, especially if you're in a campaign where maybe carrying capacity, your cumbrance is something that is questionable, in other words, not really cared about. I would maybe ask the DM, hey, I want to do this. I want to how can we flavor this or use this in a way that's maybe a little bit more beneficial? Because right now I can't imagine how you would need advantage on strength checks to push, pull, lift, or break objects all too often, unless it's myself. Does this include things like climbing, like jumping? Do I get advantage on those things if I'm the one doing, if I'm pushing myself, if I am lifting myself? Because the way it's worded is objects, push an object, pull an object, break an object. So I don't know, that comes down to how you and your DM figure it out, but hey, whatever. At 10, no matter which one you choose, you cast the Commune with Nature spell, which is nice, but only as a ritual, which is actually not too bad because that means that, it doesn't cost you spell slots, which you don't have, but, you don't have to worry about it, having a limit or anything, just 10 minutes, and hey, you get to use this spell. Not bad. At 14th level, you gain a magical benefit based on the totem once again, and again, if we're sticking to it, if you go the bear, while you're raging, any creature within 5 feet of you that's hostile to you has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another character with this feature. So if 2 totem bear barbarians, they can't split it between the two. You can't like, oh, well, I'm a bear barbarian, so so you have disadvantage against him, and oh, well, I'm also you have disadvantage. So it's basically we're all at disadvantage. No matter who you choose. I like that they thought ahead. Odds are this would never happen, but it's nice that they thought ahead. An enemy is immune to this effect, however, if it cannot see or hear you, or if it cannot be frightened. This is really powerful. It is basically taking some of the thing. In fact, the Ancestral Guardian basically took this and then just made an entire class around it, which is cool. But this is really good. This is really powerful, and it is this ability is really what makes it so that, hey, I can be the center of attention because I am resistant to all types of damage, no matter what it is besides something. Really, really cool. Now, this is S tier. That is an S tier build. There are maybe some things about it that are questionable. Again, that 6th level ability, it's a little, but let's pretend here for a second that maybe your DM is super, super cool, and maybe your DM is like, hey, you can choose a bear and something else. Maybe they envision it a little bit more like me. In which case, let's look back here. Okay, at Eagle, you gain the eyesight of an eagle. You can see up to a mile away with no difficulty. Additionally, dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your wisdom checks. If this does not give you some kind of benefit in your DM's mind to your perception stuff, and even like investigation, I don't know what. I would ask your DM, hey, how does this affect, like, say, my perception and investigation stuff? Elk, whether mounted or on foot, your travel pace is doubled, as is the travel pace of up to 10 of your companions. It helps you roam far and fast. Yeah, not really that cool. Tiger, you gain proficiency in 2 skills from the following list: athletics, acrobatics, stealth, and survival. That could be kind of cool. The Barbarian is one of the least skill junky classes there are. If you feel like it is desperate, like for some reason your DM just loves putting you guys through your stealth checks, I find that most barbarians generally don't have the ability to take stealth. Maybe this is the way to do it. But it's iffy. This one, however, I feel is usually the one that is the most up in the air. Wolf, you can track other creatures while traveling at a fast pace, and you can move stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. Does this mean that you have advantage and bonuses to your stealth? I don't know. It doesn't say so, but maybe. I don't know. I still would say at 6th level, bear or tiger are probably your 2 best bets. And as for, the last one, 14th level, Eagle, while raging, you have a fly speed. That's pretty fucking cool. The only problem is that, again, it is raging. You have a fly speed, so it's not like, if you think about, like, remember, rage ends early. No, because I think by this point you have persistent rage. So you might be able to actually fly for a minute fully. I'll have to double check on that. All right. This benefit only works in short bursts. If you fall, or you fall if you end your turn in the air and nothing else is holding you aloft. Okay, yeah. So it's literally just for one turn. That's way less awesome than I thought it was. Yeah. Elk, while raging, you can use a bonus action to move through, to pass through a space of a larger or smaller creature. That creature must make a strength saving throw. So basically, you just like bullhead charge into a creature. And if they fail, and you do get to use your strength bonus, which is super nice here. If they fail, then they are knocked prone and they take bludgeoning damage. It's the prone that would be nice because that gives you advantage on strikes, on any following strikes. Tiger, while raging, you can move if you move at least 20 feet in a straight line. If you then make a melee attack against them, you can then use a bonus action to make an additional melee weapon attack against them. Super, super cool, but it does require you to go 20 feet in a straight line toward a creature that is larger or smaller. And finally, Wolf, while you're raging, you can use a bonus action on your turn to knock a larger or smaller creature prone when you hit with a melee attack. Why the fuck would you ever choose that and not the Elk? I don't know. Maybe it's because the Elk might not actually be in the book, and so the DM might not let you use it. But no. Overall, Bear is still, in my opinion, even if your DM does say, hey, you gotta choose the Bear. If you choose Bear level 3, then you have to choose the Bear aspect at 6 and at 14. It's still, in my opinion, the best option. Fly speed is cool, but it's only for short bursts. It's literally for 6 seconds. And it's only your walking speed, which at 14th level, I think you have like maybe a 40 to 50 foot walk speed. It does not say dash. It doesn't say you can dash it. It says your walking speed. So I have the oddest feeling that you are only flying 40 something feet. And then you're falling if you're not on the ground already. And all the rest are just like little bonuses to damage, but no, just overall, Bear Totem. Shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. It is, at the end of the day, the single best Barbarian subclass there is. And there is a reason why everybody who plays Barbarian always puts Bear Totem as its S tier every time. Alright, and with that, my tier list is done. We went through the whole thing, really. I guess just any final thoughts in terms of Barbarian 1? Like I said, it's, in my opinion, it's one of my most fun classes. To be honest, whenever I play games like Final Fantasy and even games like Skyrim, some of the most fun builds I had were those builds that were, the big, beefy, meaty, just hit hard, kind of classes. I love them. They'll always have a special place in my heart. But I said at the start of part 1, again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out, is that the Barbarian is, in my opinion, one of the worst classes of D&D right now in 5th edition. And I would like to end this video by just kind of explaining a little bit. Maybe I'll just have an entire video about it later. But the problem with it, I guess I'll keep this one pretty short then, because maybe that'll just be a whole video in itself. Just bottom line, a Barbarian can be fun to play. It can be. Especially at lower tiers, tier 1, tier 2, when, on average your other buddies are only able to put out, 15 to 20 points of damage a round, and you're doing, 40. It can be something fun. It can be really, really cool. The problem is that almost any time I or a buddy of mine has ever played a Barbarian, one of the biggest things that they say is that they feel useless. I felt useless when we were out of combat. Now, does that mean that we just I'm not the best at this, so I'm going to purposefully choose to not join in and participate? So therefore I am making my time not fun. No, in fact, I was readily trying to join and participate. The problem is that, especially if you find yourself at a table with other power gamers, other, players that want to win and want to do good and want to succeed in what our plans are, you don't send the dumb as rocks barbarian to try and take a math test. You don't send the dude with probably a negative something charisma to go in and try to persuade anybody to do anything. And as time goes on, you kind of accept that, okay, the party wants this to succeed. I will not be the one to make that, like, I have the lowest chance of that happening, so I'm not going to participate with it. And sadly, as D&D, as 5th edition has evolved, I have found that just more and more focus seems to be going into social stuff. It seems to be going more into social encounters. Combat is becoming less and less of a super high value thing. And that's cool, and that's awesome. And as a DM, like, I'll be honest, I'm just as guilty of it. I try to come up with really cool social encounters more than I do try to come up with cool combat encounters. Not to say I don't try to come up with good combat encounters, but I'll be honest, I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. But what I have found is that every player who I've ever been with, myself included, when we choose Barbarian, usually about at some point, it never fails, at some point in the campaign, there comes that day where it's, holy shit, I'm really not helping other people. I'm squishing brains into jelly when I'm in combat, but as soon as I'm not in combat, this whole thing just, I don't feel like I'm helping too much. And I think one of the best examples of this is Critical Role. Go listen to, I forget what episode he says, but Travis Willingham, he says, that Grog Strongjaw, even he says that, hey, I love Grog. Grog was fun. He was fantastic. But I felt utterly useless when I wasn't turning people into paste. And he's 100%. Like, granted, it was also because he's in a party of like 7 people, 8 people. So it's like, of course you're going to have people with different skill sets and things. And so there are just going to be people who are better. But no, after having played a number of Barbarians, having friends who have played Barbarians, they are fun classes. It's a great subclass. And like I said, I'll probably do a video explaining why I think a Barbarian is the worst class in D&D. But with just overall, power creep has just pushed the Barbarian further and further back to the point to where, if you're like, oh, I would love to play that, you say that the Bear Barbarian is S tier, it's the best Barbarian class, and yet I'm still getting outclassed in combat in some situations. I'm still not having the most fun I feel like I could. I still feel like I'm not, as a part of this game as I should be. But I'm playing the best Barbarian. You're right. Statistically, in terms of gain, in terms of power-wise, you are playing the best Barbarian. You're also playing a class that has been kind of left behind as 5th edition has progressed for here with recent, some recent and some a few years old books that have come out. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my rankings. Again, these are my rankings. This is where I would place them. But we all have our opinions. We're all entitled to them. Hey, if you disagree, go down in the comments. Let me know, where your rankings would be. Is there something I overlooked? Is there an ability that, I misjudged? I'm always open for ears. But this was TLC. I hope that you learned something, or at the very least just enjoyed watching something about D&D, because hey, I love doing it. But I will catch you all